There are stories that fade with time, and then there are the ones that refuse to die. Stories that linger in the back of your mind long after you hear them. Stories that make you question what fear really is. Tonight, we're diving into one of the most documented, most witnessed, and most disturbing hauntings ever recorded. A quiet home on Green Street in Enfield, London. A single mother, 4 kids, and something they could never see, but could never escape. This is the creepy story of the Hodgson family. And whether you believe in the paranormal or not, what happened here will get under your skin. Let's unravel the shadows. It all began in August of 1977. Peggy Hodgson, a single mother raising 4 kids, was already juggling more than most people could handle. The house was small, the money was tight, life was loud and stressful. But that night, something else joined the list. Something no parent is ever prepared for. Peggy's daughters, Janet and Margaret, told her they heard knocking, not the kind you write off as pipes or the wind. This was rhythmic, intentional, like someone or something wanted attention. Peggy didn't believe them at first, until she heard it too. Then things escalated. Furniture shifted. Objects moved across the floor on their own. A chair slid several feet, while a police officer stood in the room and watched it happen. Even in the early days, Janet, the 11-year-old, seemed to be at the center of it, not by choice, more like she'd been chosen. Some believed she was vulnerable, easy for something to latch onto. Others said she might have been the source of the energy. Either way, the house had found its target, and it wasn't letting go. Imagine being a mother, trapped in your own home, hearing these strange knocks night after night, not knowing if it's a prank, a child's imagination, or something far worse. And then you start noticing. Janet, your little girl, is at the center of it all. Her eyes wide with fear, clutching the covers, sometimes whispering things you don't understand. You begin to question reality itself. This wasn't just a haunted house story on the news anymore. This was happening to your family in your home, and no one could protect you from it. The knocking was creepy. The moving objects were unsettling, but everything changed when Janet started speaking in a voice that didn't belong to her. A deep, gravelly, older man's voice. A voice calling itself Bill Wilkins. A voice claiming it had died in that very house. Witnesses described it as unnatural. Too loud, too controlled, too strange to come from an 11-year-old girl, who shouldn't have been able to maintain it for more than a few seconds. Yet she spoke in that voice for hours. Maurice Grosse and Guy Lyon Playfair, 2 paranormal investigators, arrived soon after. They took the case seriously. Maybe more seriously than anyone else ever had. They recorded everything. Hundreds of hours of audio, photos, notes, witness statements, and even they couldn't explain what they were hearing. One moment Janet was a child, the next, she sounded like a man who claimed to have lived and died long before she was born. He would answer questions about his death, describe how he lost his vision, talk about collapsing in the house. The investigators didn't know what to believe, but they couldn't deny what was happening right in front of them. Can you imagine watching your child suddenly speak in a voice that isn't hers? A voice filled with rage, sorrow, and memories from a life long gone. You want to scream, to run, to grab her and leave, but the house seems alive. Maurice Grosse and Guy Lyon Playfair, seasoned investigators, didn't flinch. They stayed, documenting, taking notes, and witnessing events that would shake the most skeptical minds. And yet, even with all that evidence, the truth remained just out of reach. By September 1977, the house became chaos. The gruff voice grew angrier, more aggressive, more confident. Objects didn't just shift anymore, they flew. Janet's behavior changed. She was exhausted, erratic, scared. Her siblings didn't know how to help her. Her mother could barely sleep. The entire family was running on fear and confusion. One night, Janet was found levitating, not gently rising from her bed like in a movie. Witnesses described it as if she'd been yanked upward by something they couldn't see. Other times, she was thrown from her bed entirely. The house turned into a pressure cooker. Everyone was watching the family struggle, neighbors, reporters, even skeptical police officers, yet no one could stop it. And the more attention the case got, the worse things became. Think about it, a small, cramped council home, suddenly the epicenter of terror. A child rising into the air, objects flying without cause, voices from the dead. How would you cope? How would you protect your family when even the police admit they can't explain it? This is not fiction. This was real life for the Hodgsons, and every day the terror grew. The haunting didn't stay local for long. The media caught wind of it, and suddenly the Hodgson home became a spectacle. People lined the streets. Journalists pushed their way in. Everyone wanted a piece of the story. And every outsider brought their own theory. Some believed the haunting. Some thought the kids were acting. Some believed the stress, the poverty, and the public attention had pushed the family to a breaking point. But for every skeptic, there was someone who witnessed something they couldn't explain. A chair sliding on its own. A deep, impossible voice coming from a child. Furniture shaking violently. Cold spots appearing out of nowhere. The investigators put their reputations on the line. Maurice Grosse especially. He became emotionally invested, convinced the family was experiencing something real, something dangerous. Through it all, the house remained the same small, cramped government housing on Green Street. A place that should have felt safe, but instead became known worldwide as the center of a haunting. Can you picture being watched from the street while your child is tormented in her own bedroom? Journalists pushing, neighbors staring, cameras flashing. The pressure on Peggy and her children was unimaginable. Maurice Grosse poured his heart into this case, risking everything to uncover the truth. And still, the house kept its secret. From 1977 to 1979, the activity continued. Not always at the same intensity, but enough to keep the family on edge, enough to change them forever. Janet's personality shifted. She grew withdrawn. She struggled emotionally, even years later. She would talk about how the events damaged her mental health long after she left the house. The family was tired, bruised, and desperate for normal life. When the activity finally ended, there was no big finale. No dramatic exorcism. No clear answer. It just stopped, leaving behind scars, questions, and recordings people still argue about today. The Enfield Poltergeist case remains one of the most famous hauntings in history. Not because it was the most violent, not because it had the best photos or the scariest audio, but because over 30 people claimed they witnessed something, because investigators documented everything they could, because a family truly believed they were being tormented. Even now, decades later, the story sits in a strange place between fear and doubt. Some swear it was real, others insist it was staged, but here's the unsettling part. No one has ever explained the voice. No one has explained the levitation. No one has explained the events witnessed by trained police officers. And sometimes, the things we can't explain are the things that haunt us the most. So tell me, after hearing what happened to the Hodgson family, do you think something paranormal was living with them? Or do you think the truth is hiding somewhere deeper? Somewhere human? Sleep well tonight. If you can.